来了。
来这儿拍照呗。
Welcome to Momo TV. This is Guo Zhuang, one of the most elegant and peaceful classical gardens hidden along the shore of the beautiful West Lake in Hangzhou, China. Today, as we slowly walk through this garden together, take a deep breath and allow yourself to slow down. Unlike the busy streets of modern cities, places like Guo Zhuang were designed specifically to create a feeling of calm, reflection, and harmony between human architecture and nature. Guo Zhuang is not a massive palace or imperial park. Instead, it is a refined private garden representing the aesthetic lifestyle of wealthy scholars and merchants in southern China during the late Qing Dynasty. The garden was originally built around the year 1860, and it reflects the cultural philosophy of the Jiangnan region, the area south of the Yangtze River, known for its delicate gardens, waterways, and poetic scenery. In classical Chinese garden design, the goal is not simply to create a park. The goal is to create a three-dimensional landscape painting that people can walk through. Every step you take reveals a slightly different scene. If you look carefully, you will notice how the garden designers carefully placed pavilions, bridges, bamboo groves, ponds, and corridors in a way that frames the landscape like a living scroll painting. In Chinese aesthetics, this concept is known as Yi Bu Huanjing, changing scenery with every step. So as we walk slowly through Guo Zhuang, notice how the perspective constantly changes. A window in the wall might frame a lotus pond like a painting. A small curved bridge leads the eye across the water. A pavilion may appear suddenly between bamboo leaves. Nothing here is accidental. Every stone, every tree, every corridor was carefully arranged. One of the most distinctive features of Guo Zhuang is the water. Water is the soul of many traditional Chinese gardens, especially in southern China, where rivers and canals are part of everyday life. The ponds here are connected visually with the much larger West Lake, creating the illusion that the garden is part of the greater landscape beyond its walls. This technique is called borrowing scenery, or jiejing, where the outside environment becomes part of the garden composition. So although the garden itself is relatively small, it feels much larger and more open. You might also notice the elegant covered corridors running along the water. These corridors are not just for decoration. They serve several purposes. They guide visitors through the garden, creating a natural walking route. They provide shade during the hot summers of Hangzhou. And perhaps most importantly, they frame different views, like a moving picture gallery. In the past, scholars might walk slowly along these corridors while discussing poetry, philosophy, or calligraphy with friends. Imagine a quiet afternoon in the 19th century. A group of literati sitting in one of these pavilions, drinking tea, writing poems, and watching lotus flowers bloom on the pond. This lifestyle reflects an important cultural ideal in traditional Chinese society. The idea that intellectual life should remain closely connected with nature. Rather than separating humans from the natural world, gardens like Guo Zhuang attempt to create harmony between the two. The buildings themselves are also fascinating. Notice the white walls, dark wooden beams, and curved black roof tiles, a classic architectural style of the Jiangnan region. The design is simple but elegant, emphasizing proportion and balance rather than grandeur. Look closely at the windows and doors, and you may see intricate lattice patterns carved into the wood. These geometric patterns allow light and air to pass through while also creating beautiful shadows inside the rooms. In Chinese architecture, even small design details often carry symbolic meaning. For example, round windows sometimes represent the full moon, symbolizing reunion and harmony. Square windows may represent stability and order. Even the placement of rocks in the garden has philosophical meaning. These stones are not random decorations. Many were selected to resemble miniature mountains, reflecting an ancient Chinese belief that mountains and water together form the essence of the natural universe. In fact, traditional Chinese landscape art often follows the principle of shan shui, mountains and water. Even in a relatively small garden like Guo Zhuang, designers try to recreate this grand natural balance. You may also notice how quiet the atmosphere feels here. Although Hangzhou is now a modern city of millions, inside this garden, the soundscape is very different. Instead of traffic and crowds, you hear water gently moving, bamboo leaves rustling in the wind, and occasionally the distant call of birds. In a way, Guo Zhuang is not just a garden. It is an invitation to experience the traditional Chinese philosophy of harmony between nature, architecture, and the human spirit. Thank you for walking with me here today. And in the next part of our journey, we will continue exploring more hidden corners of Hangzhou's timeless landscapes.